Hi there, everyone. Good evening. Thank you so much for tuning in. And for those of you that are joining in later, thank you for watching. Today, I am here with our sponsor, Laure Carter, who is an amazing Ayurvedic practitioner who has a wealth of knowledge on nutrition, health, mind, body, and spirit through the ancient practice of Ayurvedic medicine. My name is Emilia. I'm the president of the MindBody Expo. And before we get started, just want to make sure that you have it on your calendar to attend the 7th annual MindBody Expo on March 22nd so that you can meet Laure and all of the amazing sponsors that will be there. So first, thank you, Laure, for coming and joining us in the Facebook Live.
Yes, thank you for having me, Emilia.
Yes, we're so happy to have you because you're such an interesting person. And I'm sure everyone out there is dying to know the secret to sustained weight loss, the secret to optimal health, to reverse aging. And I know you have a little treasure box, so we're going to start digging in. But first, I'd love for you to share how you got into Ayurveda in the first place. And in your own words, please briefly describe what Ayurveda is.
Yes, okay. Briefly.
It's deep.
Yes, that's going to be a bit tricky. But so for people who don't really know, Ayurveda or Ayurvedic medicine is one of the world's oldest system of natural and holistic health care. And it hails with India. Oftentimes it is known or called the sister science of yoga because in the Ayurvedic approach to health and wellness, we do use the practices of traditional yoga, right? Meditative techniques, breathing techniques, postures, and so on and so forth. So yes, and just as a little bit of history, it is said that it is at least 5,000 years old, so it's been time tested, and it really is a standalone type of medicine, right? In the sense that here, if you know a little bit about Ayurveda, you'll think it's diet, lifestyle. That's a little bit about it. That's a little it. That's all. But really, prior to British imperialism in India, Ayurvedic medicine had different fields of different medical fields, right? Surgery, pediatrics, women's health, many different fields of medicine. And we no longer do surgery, but we still support people with all kinds of health issues, along with what you call it, allopathic medicine, right? So it truly is a complementary medicine or natural health care system.
That's so amazing. It's so diverse and there's such a wealth of knowledge. And I understand from just speaking with you that Ayurveda is such a complex topic and you have been able to study it in depth and break it down so simple that anyone can apply it. So before we actually go into speaking of the goodies within Ayurveda, why don't you tell us your story to share with us how you got started on this path?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So because I have been practicing yoga and meditation for 37 years now, I've always been somewhat familiar with Ayurveda or Ayurvedic medicine. But really, it was my own health challenges that brought it to the forefront. And then that I got inspired to actually go in depth, study it in depth. And because of the personality that I am, anything that I learn that works, I want to share it, right? Because holding on to that little secret all alone, it's not much fun. So it's important for me to share. And so for me, what I loved about it is not just learning about it, but it's how can I make it personable? How can I make it easy for people that I talk to really understand and be excited to use this beautiful healthcare system, holistic path. So that's really how it started for me when I experienced unexpected health issues. Mainly for me, what occurred are my digestive issues. I had really, really horrific digestive issues as I transitioned into menopause, perimenopause, right? And so along with those digestive issues, I also had what is called menopause related symptoms. And I say it this way very intentionally, right? And then along with this, I started gaining weight, and it made sense because of what was really happening internally. So I say unexpectedly because I have been practicing yoga and meditation for 37 years. I had been on a plant-based diet for 30. So, I thought I was doing everything right. Obviously, not quite.
Yes, and then you ran into some unexpected health concerns, and that's kind of what opened you up to Ayurveda. Now, this is becoming a very popular topic because there's so many people out there looking for the solution to their health issues. And one of the things that I find most interesting about Ayurveda and about how you work with your clients is you really give people the solution through helping them understand that their body is unique. So can you tell us a little bit more about that? What if I'm experiencing some imbalance within my body or within my mind? How am I supposed to balance my body by understanding my own unique body? How does that really work?
Yes, because you see, the way that we go out of balance is not haphazard, right? We all have tendencies. We all have unique tendencies. You can call them personality traits. You can call them genetic makeup, but there are unique tendencies to us. So, for example, we don't all react to stress the same way. Some of us will get impatient and have a little temper when we are angry. Others will get anxious and feel overwhelmed. Others will just get really depressed and just go back into bed and pull the covers over, right? So when you understand what are your unique tendencies in how you address life, in how you deal with life, from an Ayurvedic perspective, those tendencies, there are certain triggers that create an excess. And when those tendencies become excessive, that's when we speak in terms of imbalance. And an imbalance means you start having symptoms. Anger, depression, anxiety are looked at from the Ayurvedic perspective as symptoms.
Wow, that is so interesting. So you're telling me that we're not all the same. We're all super different.
Yes, and it's so interesting because we know that intuitively. I mean, we all want to express our unique selves, express how special we are, and look for our own unique, what you call it, purpose in life and all of that. And yet we don't realize, but that is true for everything else in our life. So the reason why I love to speak about this particular topic specifically is because what I see around is a lot of one-size-fits-all approach to health and wellness. And it simply doesn't work like that. And it makes sense if you understand, well, yeah, in everything else in my life, I want to express my uniqueness and my own special way of being, right?
Of course. Yes, and that's such an interesting point because I've tried so many different diets and so many different styles of eating, even within being plant-based. There's so many, there's raw, there's vegan keto, there's such a big diversity. And I'm sure that you have as well. So how does one, with all of these different types of diets, how can we choose which one is best for us? How do we start to understand our own unique tendencies? What would be the first step that you, as a coach and as a counselor, guide someone towards doing?
Yes. So it's a great question. Actually, I hear two questions, right? So the first question is, what really is an Ayurvedic diet, right? Well, it's not a diet. And that is really important because you mentioned vegan, plant-based, keto vegan, raw, all of those different things. That's what usually people understand in terms of diet. From the perspective of Ayurvedic medicine, then it is not a diet. It is the way that we nourish ourselves, the choices that we have, that we make, and the eating habits that we create for ourselves in order to create balance within our own uniqueness. So it's not a diet. There's nothing off the menu. It's just understanding the qualities of what you eat and how those qualities affect your qualities, your tendencies, so to speak. So the best way, really, there's only one way to do that, is to have an Ayurvedic consultation, right? Because as a result, because it is so customized, right? As a result of an Ayurvedic consultation, which is a long consultation where a practitioner like me would ask a lot of in-depth questions to begin to understand who you are and interpret them through the through the scope of Ayurvedic medicine, right? And as a result, then the practitioner is able to tell you what is your unique mind, body, spirit constitution. Literally, mind, your mindset, your physical body, and then in terms of your inner spirit, your who you are, what would that be? What is that constitution, right? And also be able to tell you what is the nature of your imbalance, how you uniquely get out of balance. And with that knowledge and without understanding, because you see, the important thing to understand about Ayurvedic medicine is that it is not here to make you dependent on a practitioner or a doctor. It's here to give you the tools to understand yourself.
That's amazing.
Yes, you're telling me, answering me. Yes, it's here to help you understand yourself so that you can consciously make the choices that you need to make.
Of course, and most of us experience either working with someone that gives you a specific diet, and then you're like, okay, well, what's next? How do I keep going? And then in the long run, you see that maybe it's not really helping you the way that you think it would. So can you please maybe share with us a couple of questions that you might ask during a consultation that that someone can maybe expect if they got a consultation with you?
Yes, absolutely. So questions like, for example, how is your appetite, right? How big is your appetite? Do you have a great appetite? Do you need to eat all the time? Or do you forget to eat? And when you forget to eat, do you get cranky? Do you get lightheaded? Or you forget to eat and then it really doesn't affect you? Or for example, how's your digestion? Do you have any type of digestive issues? Do you experience gas, bloating, or reflux acid, burning and digestion? Or do you feel heavy and fatigued after you've eaten? Other questions might be like, how focused are you? Are you someone who gets easily distracted, or are you really focused and to the point of obsession? Or are you okay in between? Or when you take on a project, do you start many different projects at a time and never finish them? Or you start a project and you really make sure you finish it because completion is important to you? Or you prefer not to start a project, let someone else start, but you're a great follower. You know how to make things going, right? Those kind of questions.
Wow. So you would analyze people's mind and body tendencies towards how they act towards food and stress and all of the elements of life. That's
exactly.
So amazing.
How they live.
Yes. And now if someone went to a consultation with you and they had you asked their questions and you analyze their responses. Now, I know that this is a very in-depth portion, so I only kind of want to touch on it, but what would the results that you present them be? What is it that you share with your clients after the evaluation to let them know what their tendencies are within the scope of Ayurveda?
Yes, very good question again. Thank you. So Ayurvedic medicine came up with a, how would you say that? Not a spectrum, but an understanding, a look at life and how we are ourselves and the world around us, that it called Vata, Pitta, Kapha, right? I'm not really going to go into much details, but I do go into details in the midst of an Ayurvedic consultation, because the goal is for people to begin to see themselves through the eyes of Ayurveda. And so Vata, Pitta, and Kapha are like bioenergies that combine two elements, right? And when we speak of elements, we speak of space, air, fire, water, and earth. But what is really interesting about this elemental theory is that it's not just the water that you drink and the earth that you touch and the air that we breathe, but these elements have characteristics, unique characteristics. Like, for example, and I'm not going to go through each one of them, but let's take the example of air, right? Air, yes, is the air that we breathe. But if you look at a tree or at a pool of water, and then suddenly on the pool of water you see ripples due to air moving or wind moving on the pool of water. So when the sages of old saw that, they realized, the characteristic of air is movement. So anything that triggers movement is influenced by the air element. So within ourselves, the air element is the breath that we breathe, yes, but it's also the movement of neurons. It's the movement of thoughts. All of these are symptomatic or characteristic of the air element, right? So it's much more complex. It's not at all simplistic, right? But I do take the time to explain each element and how they combine to become Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, and then to become uniquely the person, because we all have all three, but we have all three in a very unique equation, so to speak, right? A very unique percentage of each combination. And when we understand this very unique combination, so to speak, then we begin to understand ourselves better.
Great. Yeah. So basically what you're saying is, based on an evaluation that you give people in depth through a series of questions, you are able to pinpoint which elements they have a tendency towards. So basically, we are made up of elements, and our tendencies are represented through the elements of fire, water, wind, and earth, correct?
Yes.
Amazing. And those are called Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. And based on these different tendencies that you're able to describe to people based on their answers, then what happens after that? And after your evaluation, you share with someone, okay, this is your tendency. What are you able to provide along with that tendency to help that person regain balance within their body?
Absolutely. So when people begin to understand what their tendencies are, first of all, my first goal is for them to have more self-compassion. And then to understand that depending on circumstances and context, those tendencies might go out of balance, meaning there will be an excess, right? And so when that happens, then a symptom occurs. So we were giving the example of the air element, right? So the air element, because of that movement, the tendency for someone who may have a dominant amount of air element or vata dosha within their mind, body, spirit constitution will show up as someone who always needs to move, right? Someone who will move physically, but also move mentally, one thought to the next and to the next and to the next, not really being able to focus necessarily on one specific thing. Well, depending on their environment, if they live a lifestyle that, let's say, for example, they travel all the time, so it's excess movement. What happens then is that it creates a symptom. The symptoms might be they have difficulty falling asleep, too much movement, right? Another symptom might be that they're having gas and bloating, right? They're beginning to experience dryness. They become easily dehydrated, which is, by the way, also symptomatic of not sleeping well, because hydration, our own body natural way to hydrate, is intimately linked to our circadian rhythms, for example. So once they understand that, then we can begin to work on implementing progressively lifestyle habits and choices, along with food habits and choices, that will enable them, if they perhaps cannot stop traveling, they will stop the process, the excessive, the out of balance process, enable them to still perhaps travel, but balance the effect of the traveling, of that movement.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that is so interesting. So you get that 3-part catered to you process where you can just help someone really understand the scope of their own natural tendencies, which are so unique to our each individual bodies.
Yes.
So yes, thank you so much for explaining that for us. And I'd love for you to maybe share, if someone wants more information about you, of course they can come see you at the expo on March 22nd. But if someone would want a consultation from you, they can contact you through your email and your website.
Absolutely. So my website is laurecarter.com. So my first name is the French part of me, Laure, and Carter is the American part of me, Carter. You can also reach me through email at info@laurecarter.com, or DM me on, and definitely say hello on Instagram at Laure_lifestyle.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Laure. Any final words before we sign off? There's so much to say. I know, especially in Ayurveda, it's such a complex, but such a beautiful topic.
Yes, absolutely. So the final words is actually the title of this talk. Honor who you are, how unique, your uniqueness, and through what the path that you decide, the health and wellness path that you chose. Make sure that it helps you honor who you are, as opposed to fighting against who you are, right?
Exactly, because one thing that you said to me that stuck with me is living life is, no, balance is like walking the tightrope of life. You're always kind of wiggling back and forth, but always trying to find your center. And through Ayurveda, you are able to do that because you are honoring who you uniquely are. So thank you so much, Laure, for taking the time out to share this with us, and hope everyone enjoyed and have an amazing rest of your evening. Thank you.